Welcome back to Capitol Tonight, a statewide look at politics. I'm Johnny Chappell in for Tim Boyum. Well, education, it's a constant hot topic, especially how well are we preparing our children for the workforce in the future ahead. Earlier, Tim had a chance to speak with Darrell Allison. He is the president of Parents for Educational Freedom in North Carolina.
There has been no shortage of debate at the legislature about education reform. One of the issues centers around tax credits for businesses who help fund scholarships for low-income kids to attend private school. Joining me now with more on that issue is Darrell Allison. He's president of Parents for Educational Freedom in North Carolina. His group has led the effort to get this put in place. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Hey, it's good to be with you again. The first time you're Capitol Tonight.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
So I guess, first of all, just from your perspective, describe what this bill would do.
So essentially, as you know, last session we passed a measure with special needs tax credit, where families be able to get a tax credit for a child who wants to attend private schools or children with disability. And so we all know the dreaded V word, right? And that has, shock value on many different levels, voucher. And so what can we do to set up a different stream? We have corporate entities here in North Carolina that very much care about community and reinvestment, and so we've seen a program that has grown since 2001 to now 8 states, where corporations be given a tax credit to be able to give to scholarship granting organizations, who in turn can give scholarships to neediest children. And so this is an idea of a different stream of funding for families in need, academic need. In North Carolina, there's no shortage of that. When you look at the integrated test scores, just last year, the Department of Public Instruction posted that we had over 336,000 low-income children who failed the state exams. And that's about 50% of low-income children who fail the exams and 50% that succeed. And so what about an idea of a small pilot program that would attribute some dollars, give a cap for corporations to give those children in need another option, where again the traditional public school system is not meeting the needs.
So the natural argument from the other side is how does taking tax credit money that could go to public education out of public schools help the public schools in the long run?
Yeah, so here's that piece there. First of all, this is different from a voucher. Again, a voucher is a redirecting of public earmarked dollars, public school dollars going to families who want to attend a private school. This is a different stream. So is there a situation where there could be some impact on funding for public schools? Probably so. But here's the flip side of that. The flip side of that argument is this. We're basing on statistics. We're basing it on how are these children doing in the system that they're currently in. When we have 50% of low-income children not, passing integrated test scores, when we have over 336,000 children that are not faring well in that public school setting, it's obvious to us that that child perhaps need another alternative. And so from that standpoint, you have to ask the question. Public education, $7 billion a year. Here we have a program that's just $40 million, a pilot program for low-income children. That $40 million is not by any means going to bankrupt, going to overthrow public education as we know it. But what is the real motive? Is the motive just about the money, or is the motive really about educating the child? And so if we know that this private school has a better chance to educate that child who is not being educated, then I think that's a concept that citizens in our state, corporate leaders in our state, as well as elected officials can embrace and get behind.
Is some of this about semantics? Then when you talk about, you hear from the other side, voucher versus tax credit and where the money's going, it all affects the budget one way or the other. I mean, does it matter in some way, or is it about the broader issue?
Well, you'll have organizations like ourselves on one side saying, hey, we believe in parental school choice, and we do. We said it on the Bachelor, and you have those traditional school organizations that will be against. I mean, last year, Tim, they were against charter schools. We were able to pass that. They were against special needs tax credit measure. We were able to pass that. In fact, we had over 97% of the General Assembly support the charter schools, and we had 65% of Democrats support the special needs tax credit. So you're always going to have the folks on the right and the left. But here's the most important point, a very important point. On this issue right now, we've had over 7,000 parents, citizens, call their elected officials and say, we support opportunity tax credit scholarships. We had a rally here in Raleigh where originally we're looking at maybe 200 in attendance. We had over 1,200 that were in attendance. We were helping them get here transportation-wise, to get here to rally their support. And so when you talk about Raleigh and Capitol, here at the Capitol, you're often listening to policymakers. You're often listening to politicians, but one of the things we want to make sure is that there's another voice that's being heard, and that's parents. And we know that for low-income families, working-class families, this is something that they desperately need. The bottom line is this: the vast majority of children will always be educated in our traditional public schools, but we cannot overlook the facts and stats that when we see a segment of low-income working-class families, children that are not faring well, that the schools that they're zoned to are not good, and because of their low income, because they don't have the means to be able to stroke a check to send them to a private school, we cannot cast them aside. That this is, again, a safe measure. Florida, the state of Florida, they were at the bottom nationally in terms of really educating low-income children. Now they're leading the nation. They have really shortened up that achievement gap. In North Carolina, we have a 30% achievement gap between low-income and upper-income children in our public schools. And we think this is one way, not the only way, the sole way, but we think that this being added to the table better ensures that every child, regardless of where they live and how much they make, will be able to get the education that they so desperately need.
A small piece to the broader puzzle?
Absolutely. And we have to understand that this is not something new to North Carolina. We have over 85,000 children that are homeschooled. We have over 100,000 children that are already educated privately, and we have over 45,000 children that are educated in the public education system, and we have 1.5 children that are educated in traditional public school. So we already embrace the idea of parental school choice, and this adds the option for low-income children to also have a great option. The bottom line is, if you don't have the resources, you don't have every option on the table for you. And let's equalize that. Let's make sure that even our low-income working-class children have a chance at the American dream.
So we're almost out of time, but this was initially thought it could get in the budget, and it is still sitting as a separate bill. Is your hope that it gets done here in the next couple of weeks?
Well, that's my hope. And again, there's some history to this. Just last year, as you well know, Tim, there was a charter bill that looked like one side, and then ultimately what was passed was a little bit different. And in the same folks were saying, well, Darrell, you know, we missed it this time because basically the Senate passed a version, the House passed a version. It was kind of on the table there, and time was going to run out. And we were able to mobilize, and within 2 weeks we were able to get the job done. I think that we can find that happy medium and make sure that a good policy like this gets enacted, and we get about the business of making sure that every child is adequately educated.
All right, it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, as it always is. Darrell, thank you so much.
Thank you so very much,
I appreciate it. We have to take a short break here on Capitol tonight, but when we come back, we will have much more.